My daughter locked me in my room, took my phone, and ignored my desperate pleas to call an ambulance. She thought that by doing this, she'd get her inheritance faster. But 3 days later, when she finally opened the door, what she saw inside made her let out a scream she'll never forget. If you're watching this video, tell me where you're from or what time it is for you. I'm fine, I said. You're not, Jasmine said, already crossing the room like she owned it. She didn't look at my face. She looked at the nightstand where I'd left the phone. Don't, I said. She took it anyway. A clean lift, thumb, pocket, done. You get worked up, she said casual. You call people, you make them worry. It's not good for you. It's my phone and I'm your mother. She smiled like that settled something. I'll keep it with me for a bit. Give it back. Later. She tipped her head at the window light. You slept. I was sleeping. You walked in. You didn't answer the door. I didn't hear it. That's new. She stepped back to the door. She moved slow, measured like she'd practiced this somewhere. You should rest. I need to call Dr. Washington. I spoke to the doctor, she said. You just need quiet. You're not the doctor. No, she said, hand on the knob. I'm the one who's here. She pulled the door in. The latch kissed the strike. She turned the old brass key that had hung on a nail since before she was born. The lock clicked, a clean little sound that landed in the middle of my chest. My breathing went shallow. I stared at the knob, willing it to be a joke, a warning, anything but what it was. Jasmine. No answer. I went to the door. My heart did a fast stutter. Not the surgical pain, the other kind. I put my palm on the wood and felt the cool paint. I twisted the knob. It spun useless and cheerful. Jasmine. Her footsteps went away down the hall. I listened for the phone buzz on my table. Of course, it didn't come. My pocket felt naked. I stood in the room with the bed too high and the dresser too full and the old family photos facing the wrong direction. I pressed my forehead to the door and breathed in paint and dust and the faint scent of Jasmine's perfume. Something expensive, something sharp. Okay. Window. I gripped the sill and lifted. The sash stuck, then jumped. Morning air came through with cut grass and coffee and the thin whistle of the main road across the fence. Hank bent at the hip in his garden, a hat on, his trowel small and stubborn against the earth. He's deaf in one ear. I cupped my hands and yelled anyway. Hank. He didn't look. Hank. The trowel stopped. He straightened, shaded his eyes. I waved both arms and pointed to my chest, then to the door, then to him. My hand shook. He squinted, then made a face like he dropped a screw inside an engine. Dorothy, he called. You okay? Call an ambulance, I shouted. I can't breathe, right? I could breathe. Not well. The truth was close enough. The truth was also that I needed someone who wasn't my daughter inside this house. Sit tight, he yelled. I'm calling now. Don't sit tight me, I muttered, hauling the window higher. The sash rattled. A tiny draft lifted the edge of my curtain and laid it down again. I listened. Downstairs, the machine hissed. Marcus's fancy espresso gadget that makes the kitchen smell like a mall. Footsteps moved under me. Jasmine's tempo changed. The house has a way of telling on you. Stairs creaked when I didn't want them to. Pipes sang when they shouldn't. My name on her tongue always meant something new I had to give up. I tried the door again, then pressed my ear against it. She was on the phone. Her voice was soft, a little breathy, the tone she uses for strangers. Yeah, my mom's having one of her episodes, she said. And the word episode slid under my skin and curled there. She gets confused. She'll say I took something. She gets like that. I put my knuckles to my mouth. It shut me up like a gag. I held them there until my wrists stopped buzzing. The siren started small, a suggestion at the edge of the morning. Hank shouted again, closer this time. I pictured him in the drive waving his arms like a man on a runway trying to land a plane. The knob turned once from the other side, testing me. The key turned back. The door opened. Jasmine stood there neat and composed, a hand still holding the brass like she was posing for a brochure. She'd fixed her hair. Her makeup was perfect even at this hour. She looked past me, scanning the room for anything that might complicate things. I called, I said. You locked me in. She made a face like I'd accused her of stealing church candles. Mom, you turned the lock by mistake. I heard it. You've done that before. Give me my phone. You don't need it. You have me. She stepped inside. Not big, not looming, just close enough to make the room smaller. Listen to me. The paramedics will come up. You'll tell them what we discussed. I didn't discuss anything with you. You're forgetful. She reached out and straightened the collar of my house shirt like she was being kind. Her fingers pressed against my throat for a second too long. You'll say you panicked when you woke up. That's all, Jasmine. You'll say it was a little panic attack, not the heart. You'll say you don't want the hospital because if she glanced at the dresser drawer where the pill bottles live. Because of your anxiety in strange places. That's true. What I'll say, I said, every word a little stone, is that you locked me in my own bedroom and took my phone. She smiled without teeth. You won't because you want to stay and because you don't want to make a scene in front of the neighbors. You care about that. Her eyes went to the window. And Hank's here. He'll tell everyone whatever first story he hears. I want to live here safely. That's all. Great. She patted my shoulder like I'd agreed with her. Safe means calm. Calm means no cops, no courts, no confusion. Open the lock, I said. She stepped closer, her breath mint sharp. You'll say panic attack, she whispered. Or you won't like how hard this gets. The siren got bigger, swallowed the street. 2 tones, a heartbeat apart. I felt my own heart try to follow and stumble. My fingers found the back of the chair. The wood was smooth and honest. I wrapped my hand around it until my knuckles glowed white. She let the threat hang in the air like steam. Then she pivoted easy and polite and walked out. She left the door open, which felt worse. She wanted me to see how free I wasn't. I went to the dresser, pulled the top drawer, then the next. Socks, old letters, the little stack of receipts I keep to prove something to myself. Not the thing I wanted. I closed the drawers with my hip and held on to the corner until my breath leveled out. Footsteps on the stairs. Not Jasmine. Heavy boots. 2 sets. A woman's voice, professional and bright. Northwestern EMS up here, Jasmine called. Cheery. She's calmer now. I almost laughed. It came out thin. They reached the landing. A woman first, compact, strong, short hair, a bag in one hand, a man behind her with the monitor. Jasmine stood to the side, a host in her entryway. Ms. The woman checked a card. Dorothy. Yes, I said. Thank you for coming. What's going on today? She asked, eyes already on my skin, my chest, my hands. Quick, kind, efficient. I woke and couldn't catch my breath, I said. And I may have had a panic spike. I watched Jasmine's shoulder a knot. Then I added, my daughter also locked me in the bedroom and took my phone. Silence, not long, but the kind that changes the temperature of a room. Her eyes ticked to Jasmine, then back to me. She didn't write it down. She didn't argue either. Let's get a set of vitals, she said smooth. Can we sit you down? She glanced at the chair. Or the bed. The chair, I said. The man, Leo, his badge said, set the cuff and wrapped it firm around my arm. The Velcro rasped. The cuff inflated and pinched. The pulse ox clipped to my finger. A small cold bite. What meds are you on, Dorothy? The woman, Nina, asked. Metoprolol. The new one Dr. Washington added, I said. Jasmine can show you. Jasmine smiled gracious. They're in the kitchen. I'll bring them. They're in the dresser, I said. She paused. Then the graciousness snapped back on. I moved them. Safety. The cuff side. Leo read the numbers without making a face. Pulse a little fast. Pressure okay. Pain, Nina said. 5. I said scared pushes it to 7. That's honest. She said any chest tightness? A band, not a fist, she nodded. We can take you in. Northwestern Memorial is on. I don't want Jasmine started. Nina looked at her like a teacher who'd already heard the trick. I'm talking to Dorothy. She stopped. I wanted the hospital because it meant not here. I didn't want the hospital because I remembered the cold fluorescent 3 a.m. The ceiling tile, the nurse who called me sweetie because it was easier than a name. I wanted a phone that was mine in my hand. I wanted a lock that opened from my side. I'll go if I can take my phone, I said. Of course, Nina said. My daughter has it. She looked at Jasmine again. Can you hand her her phone? It's better if she rests, she said, apologetic. She calls people and gets worked up. She'll get them alarmed over nothing. It's not nothing, I said. Nina waited. The siren song faded into idle on the street. A neighbor's dog barked twice like punctuation. Phone, she said to Jasmine. Flat. She put her hands in her pockets like she suddenly couldn't remember which one. She took out a folded receipt. A mint, my phone. She held it like a delicate bird, then placed it on the dresser as if she'd always meant to. Thank you, Nina said, that teacher tone again. She picked it up and handed it to me herself. I pressed the glass to my palm. It was warm from her body. It felt like getting my name back. Let's stand, Leo said. He slid an arm under mine. He was careful. I made the sound of a woman sitting down in reverse. The room tilted once and settled. The floor had that old house give, the soft bounce of wood that's seen a lot. We'll go out on the chair, Nina said. Stairs are steep. They're fine, Jasmine said, smiling. The good daughter in a brochure again. They're steep, she repeated, not smiling. Dorothy, you ready? Wait, I said. I looked at Jasmine. You won't lock any more doors. Her lips pressed together like a secret wanted out. Don't make this dramatic. Say it. I won't lock doors, she said, light and airy. If you don't do anything foolish. Nina's eyes tracked that end bit and filed it somewhere. We're moving, she said. They wheeled me into the hall. The frames on the wall, school pictures, birthdays, watched me pass like a jury. Marcus's shoes were by the door, spotless black leather. The espresso scent was stronger now, sweet and bitter. The front door stood open, sunlight cutting a bright rectangle across the rug. Hank waited at the bottom step, hat in hand, his mouth tight. You okay, Dorothy? He said, softer this time, like the air itself might crack me. I'll live, I said, and wished the words felt bigger in my mouth. We hit the last riser. The house seemed to hold its breath. The world outside was green and plain and ordinary. Then the second siren arrived. Not ambulance, different pitch. Short burst, then silence. A car door thumped. Voices low and official. A shape filled the doorway behind the sun. Dark fabric, a glint of metal, a radio hiss. Shoes stepped onto the threshold. Polished black, heavy, not moving yet. Oak Park Police, a voice said from the bright. Jasmine's smile didn't move, but everything else in her face did. She smoothed her shirt. She turned that practiced concern up one more click. Of course, officer, she said. We were just having a little confusion. They kept me overnight at Northwestern Memorial because I said I didn't want to die in my hallway. EKGs, labs, plastic pitcher water. Dr. Washington came by at dawn, leaned on the doorframe like she paid rent on the place. No heart event, she said. You spiked adrenaline and forgot how to breathe. I remembered, I said, just not soon enough. Your numbers look decent. Go home, rest, take your meds on schedule. And Dorothy, she glanced at the chart. If anyone is managing your pills, that stops. You keep custody. Copy. Means you hold the bottles, she said. A little smile. Don't let a well-meaning family pharmacist improvise. Jasmine picked me up with a coffee I didn't drink and a voice full of careful. The ride home was soft music and a traffic light that wouldn't turn green. She talked to the windshield. The police just needed a welfare check. I told them we'd had a miscommunication. They were satisfied. The lock wasn't a miscommunication. She blinked slow. Let's not relitigate. I'll litigate once. Never again. She smiled. That's a good line. At the house, the air inside had that after bleach brightness like someone did a hurry-up clean. Marcus stood at the kitchen island with a dish towel and a face that said he'd memorized the lines and the pauses. We were so worried, he said, stepping in for a light hug. The kind that doesn't actually touch you. I made soup chicken with lemon, your favorite. It's good of you, I said. We're setting up a routine, he said. For peace, for predictability, for house rules. He laughed soft. I sound like a Pinterest board. Jasmine brought the brown paper bag from the hospital pharmacy and set it on the counter like a relic. We'll organize these, she said. We won't, I said, and reached for the bag. Her hand got there first and only barely didn't close on mine. Dorothy, Marcus said, tone wrapping itself in fluff. You know, you get overwhelmed. Let me make you one of those cute pill organizers. Monday through Sunday. It's practically a craft. I enjoy crafts, I said. But the doctor told me I keep custody. Their eyes flickered at each other. Small lightning. Marcus's smile brightened. Of course, we just want to help. Help is a ride, I said. Help is a hand on the stairs. Help isn't custody. Look at you with the phrases, Jasmine said, dry. You sound like a commercial for a lawsuit. I sound like a woman who doesn't like doors that lock from the outside. Silence widened, then folded back up and slid under the table. I took the bag, carried it to my room, and put the bottles in the top drawer with the receipts. I didn't close the drawer all the way. Let the crack show. Ownership needs light. House rule number 1 revealed itself at lunch. I'd eat in the kitchen while they watched. Not stated, just happened. They plated small portions that looked generous. Jasmine asked casual questions that were really about what I'd say if a stranger asked. Marcus laughed at nothing and everything. Hands busy, eyes busy. A tiny red blink under the upper cabinet caught my eye. Off on, off on. The kind of light that comes on when a thing records. New lights? I asked. Under cabinet LEDs, Marcus said. A dream. I scooted my chair, angled my head. The blink refocused. Not a light. A dot behind a hole in the trim. I could feel it looking at me. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I was not wrong. I set my fork down. Do we have cameras in the house? They both laughed like I'd told a joke only old women tell. Hank says you worry, Jasmine said kindly. We just want you safe. I asked a different question. Marcus's smile got its nails out. Ring on the door. That's it. You loved it when Hank showed us his clips. I love Hank's tomatoes, I said. That night, I did the little slow tour. Bathroom, window, closet, like a museum of dresses I don't wear. I sat on the bed and listened to the house talk. It does if you let it, the fridge confessed. The water heater sighed. The front steps creaked when someone sat, then didn't creak when that someone stood. I picked up the hospital discharge packet. It had the bland confidence of a church bulletin. I folded it and slid it under the mattress, then changed my mind and put it in the drawer with the pills. I needed a second phone, not for secrets, for sanity. A thing that rings when I make it ring. In the garage, I keep a box of old things that still work enough. I waited until Marcus's Netflix laugh floated up and Jasmine's footsteps made the hall do its little complaint. When the house breathed out, I went down. The garage smelled like summer and oil and saved wood that will never become a shelf. I found the box between Christmas lights and camp gear. A tiny brick of a phone lay under a tangle of old cords. The kind of thing you could throw at a bear with results. I plugged it into the outlet near the freezer. A dot blinked. Alive. I wrapped it in an old apron and tucked it behind the paint cans. The apron cord peaked. I tucked it deeper. Back upstairs, I passed the half-open door to their room. Marcus's voice like a poured drink. "We have to move faster," he whispered. "She's rallying." "She's not," Jasmine said. "She's stubborn." "Stubborn isn't rallying." Same net effect. "She's getting people on her side." The neighbor, the EMT woman. I didn't like her. A pause. "The police didn't do anything. That bothers me." I said they'd take a pulse and leave." "That's what they did." "You promised." "I promised we'd be done by." They hushed like they'd seen me. I moved. I didn't need to hear the deadline to know it existed. I didn't need to hear my house called a number to know there was a number. I went to my room and sat in the chair and put my own phone, my real one, on the table where the moon could see it. I opened the voice memo app. I hit record. The thin line began to crawl across the screen. Red dot keeping tempo. I waited. An hour later, the house got quiet the way a movie gets quiet before a jump scare. A soft step in the hall. Different cadence. Marcus in socks. He tapped, then opened without waiting. "Couldn't sleep," he said, voice small. "A boy at summer camp. Can we talk?" "We can," I said, and the red dot crawled on. He sat on the edge of the bed like he was afraid of it. "I know this is hard. Jasmine is protective. She's scared. She hides it well. She thinks the world takes advantage of nice people. She hates when I say that about you, but it's true. You are nice." He looked at his hands. "If you sign the care plan, it gives me authority to schedule things, nurses, cleaning. It would take pressure off for all of us." "Pressure is a teacher," I said. "I'm learning." He laughed a little. "See, nice and clever." His eyes lifted. "This house is a lot. Stairs and lawns and taxes. You could be in a condo by the river with an elevator and a doorman named Luis who calls you Ms. D. I found one. 2 bedrooms, sunroom. It's so you." "I'm me already," I said. His smile went glassy. "I really do care about you and plan to profit," I said too fast. The smile cracked. Then the truth of his face. Tired, intent, not kind. "We have plans," he said plainly. "We're not 25. We want to be done with this suburb life before we're 50. That's not a crime." "No," I said, "locking a door is not a crime if the right person defends it." He stood, mask back on. "Please just sign something that lets us help. Don't make this whole street into our business." "Then don't make our business into the whole street," I said. His eyes flicked to the phone on the table. I slid my hand over the screen without thinking. Too late. His look sharpened. "Recording. Notes," I said. "For your memoir." He stepped close, lips near my ear like he was telling me a recipe. "Erase it, Dorothy." "Why?" "Because you don't want to fight you can't win." He stepped back, smile returning like a flower that opens at midnight for moths. "Good night." When he left, I stopped the recording and named it Soup. I pulled the little cable from the drawer, connected phone to phone, and dropped the file into the old brick in the garage. Insurance goes where fire can't find it. Next morning, house rule number 2 arrived in a cheerful font on the fridge. Printed, laminated, even daily schedule. Breakfast window 8 to 9. TV time 2 to 3. No calls before noon to reduce stress. My name appeared twice in bold like a brand. I peeled it off. I folded it in half and put it in my pocket. Jasmine came in with a toolbox she doesn't know how to use. "Handyman day," she said. "Terrifying," I said. "Just weather stripping and a new latch for your door. You'll like it. Soft close." She held up a package privacy set. "A lock with a button." "It already has one," I said. "This one prevents accidental lock-ins," she said smoothly. "See the little pinhole? You can open it from the outside if you forget. If I forget, I repeated. She installed it quick, sure with a drill like women are when they're proud of a noise. When she finished, she pressed the button, then used the pin like a magician. Safety, she said. Show me the pin, I said. She flipped it end over end in her fingers, then dropped it into her pocket with a clink. After lunch, I went to the garage under the noble pretense of finding a rag. I checked the brick phone. File transferred. I slid the apron back and re-looped the cord. When I turned to go, a little black eye looked at me from the corner near the automatic opener, tucked into a rafter, wired. Not mine. Under cabinet, garage rafter. My house was learning to stare. Back inside, I picked a fight I could win. Give me the pin, I told Jasmine. It lives on my nightstand. Then you'll lose it, she said. Easy. I'll tape it to the table like the church key at Hank's. She considered, then slid it out and set it in my palm. Trust is a two-way street. Yours has tolls, I said. Evening. I made my own tea. I wrote 3 names on an envelope and then tore it up. I took my pills out where they could see. I left the drawer open again. I charged both phones. I lay down in the dim and listened to the lawn people push their rumble away. I drifted. A soft click woke me. Not the door. Electricity. The hum in the house fell through a trapdoor. The little clock by the bed went blank. The street noise stayed thin through the glass, but inside the walls everything went quiet. So quiet I could hear the kind of silence you can chew. I sat up the room a thick dark, not moon, not shadow, cut power. My phone lit my hand when I touched it. Then it didn't. Battery icon red, then dead like a fish turned belly up. I reached for the pin on the nightstand. It wasn't there. The hall outside had its own dark. A footstep, then another, whispering fabric on fabric. Now, Jasmine said softly, very close. The new latch clicked once, the lock engaged. The room swallowed the last little sound and kept it. Morning found the lights back on, and my door already unlocked, like the night had decided it overreached. Marcus came in with a tray. Power flicker, he said. Storm out by the lake. No storm, I said. News said wind. News lied. I took the tea anyway. My phone on the table blinked a thin, hungry red. When the cord touched, it remembered its life and woke. A text stacked over the old ones. Bank alert. Attempted transfer $2,000 from household checking. Suspicious location. Reply yes to approve. No to decline. I stared. My thumb went cold and sure. No. 3 dots. Transfer declined. Please visit a branch to verify account access. I put the phone face down. What's wrong? Marcus asked. Drywall concern. Nothing soup can't fix, I said. I dressed shoes, jacket. The air had that second-day calm after trouble, which is when trouble likes to stretch. I looked at the door and pictured the little pin sleeping in Jasmine's pocket. I put a flathead screwdriver in mine. Not a key, a memory. Hank was in his driveway wrestling a bag of soil and losing. You're not supposed to lift, I told him. You're not supposed to be locked in rooms, he said back, not smiling. Need a ride? Yes. He looked at my house once, then nodded. Bank. Bank. Jasmine stood at the sink when we passed the kitchen. Where you headed? I said, I'll come. No, I said. You're working. She dried her hands too carefully. I can take a lunch. I prefer Hank. She made her face blank. Fine, be back by noon. We have the community mediator at 1 o'clock. She's going to help us communicate like adults. Adults bring ID, I said, and kept moving. At Chase Bank Oak Park, the air was cool and the carpet too clean. A clerk with a name tag, Amy, waved me to a desk and smiled like her job was part dental hygienist, part hostage negotiator. How can I help, Ms. She scanned the screen. Dorothy. I got a text. She nodded. Fingers already typing. You have 2 checking accounts and a savings. Household checking shows a declined online transfer attempt this morning. We can add a note, reissue cards, and reset online access. That I said also, who besides me can access anything? She clicked. It looks like there was a power of attorney document scanned into the system last week. She said it soft like a weather report. For whom? She swallowed. For you granting authority to Jasmine, she checked. And Marcus is secondary. No, I said. Do you have a POA document of your own? I have a heartbeat and a pen, I said. Her eyes got serious. We can freeze functionality pending verification. I'll need to see your ID and there's a small fee for the certified copies. Do it, I said. I passed my license across. The plastic shook just a little. I stopped it. She tapped, printed, went to a back room, came back with a stapled set that had the stale smell of toner warmed over. Here's the POA on file, she said. You can review it. The fee is $12. I took out my card. The little machine accepted it with a beep that sounded like it approved of my life choices. A receipt spit out and declared cert fee 12 doku. I folded it once and tucked it behind my license. Do you want to sit? She asked, motioning to the glass-walled room that looks like a place where people close on dreams. I'll stand. The first page had my name spelled right. It had phrases that sounded like a woman in a suit talking in her sleep. The second page had a signature that looked like my hand if it drank. The third had a notary block with a seal and a number. Seal 4892. The date was last week, a day I remember because Jasmine forgot to pick me up from a follow-up and I took a cab home and paid cash. Is this legal? I asked. It's on file, Amy said. Legal is a larger word. What if it's wrong? You can revoke a POA or file a complaint with the notary board if the notarization seems off. She lowered her voice. Often family works it out. Family started this, I said. She nodded like this wasn't the first sad play she'd seen. I'm freezing household checking, issuing new cards, and flagging your profile, so in-person requests require your ID and a passphrase. Pick a word, Hank, I said. She smiled. Great word, she typed it. Anything else I can do? Yes, I said, holding up the stapled copy. Can you tell me where this was notarized? She checked the scan metadata. Document origin says Mobile Notary Oak Park Notary Services. Phone number on page 3. I looked. There it was, neat as a threat. When I stepped into the parking lot, the sun made the asphalt look like it wanted to cook lunch. Hank leaned on his truck, hat tilted back. You good for values of good? I said. I held up the papers. I need one more stop. Name it. Town clerk and maybe a notary registry if we can find one of those in the year we live in. He tapped the hood twice like a superstitious pilot and got in. At the town clerk window, the woman behind the glass had a calendar with cats in various professions. September's cat was a pharmacist. It seemed too on the nose. Notary seals are public record, she said when I asked. We can check the commission number and status. She slid a form and a pen through the slot. $2 fee. I wrote seal no 48192 on the line. I slid $2 and quarters and dimes like a girl. She took them like a bank and pecked at a keyboard so old the keys had lost their letters but not their function. Sharon Hayes, she read. Commission number 48192. Issued 3 years ago. Active mailing address the next town over. Expiration date in 9 months. Looks legit. Can I see an example of her stamp? She shrugged, apologetic. We don't keep images, just registrations. But she leaned in a little. A notary has to keep a journal. If something's weird, that's where weird hides. How do I see it? You ask, she said, smile small. Or you get a lawyer to ask. In the hallway, a bulletin board had the usual clutter. Lost dog, yoga, a flyer for community mediation services with a logo that tried too hard to be human. A woman in a soft blazer stood under it, rearranging more flyers. She turned and beamed like motion sensor lighting. Dorothy. I knew her face but not her name. Church. HOA. Grocery line. She reached out with both hands, the way people do when they want to own your wrists without you noticing. I'm Paula from the mediation center. Jasmine called yesterday. I thought we could save everyone some legal fees. Everyone, I said. You know how neighbors talk, she said, laugh paper thin. I hear you value peace. I value locks that open for my side, I said. She tilted her head. We offer a safety transfer plan. You stay in your home, but your daughter manages finances and major repairs. You focus on health and joy. It's dignity without the stress. She handed me a glossy trifold. A smiling woman who looked a little like me and nothing like me stood in a sunroom that looked expensively fake. Who signs? I asked. You, she said lightly. And Jasmine, as agent, she lowered her voice. It's already in motion. We could tidy it up today. Is there a notary involved? I asked. Of course, she said, like I'd asked if pens use ink. At home, Paula had arranged papers on the island like a magician about to force a card. We'll just initial here and here, she sang to activate the safety plan. I pride myself on low-conflict transitions. Do you pride yourself on reading notary journals? I asked. She blinked. I pride myself on outcomes. Good, I said. I set the bank packet and Sharon's business card on the island with the neatness of a threat because today's outcome is simple. I revoke any POA I didn't sign. I keep custody of my medications. I freeze the account you tried to touch. And I file a complaint about a notary who notarized a woman who wasn't me. Jasmine's smile sat on her face like a sticker someone wants to peel. Mom. Dorothy, Paula said soft. This doesn't have to become legal. It already did. The front door cracked. A realtor's voice floated in too loud to no one in particular. Is this the Oak Park listing? I have time for a quick measurements walkthrough. Oh, am I early? Marcus's eyes widened, then narrowed. You weren't supposed to, he cut it off. We'll rebook. Wonderful, the realtor said and left cheerful footprints on the rug. Paula tried to pave over the moment with tone. Let's take a breath. Emotions are I reached for the stapled POA copy and spread the pages. We're done breathing on this. Look. The notary block sat there with its little seal and proud number. 48192. I leaned closer. The stamp itself looked wrong. The state emblem was crooked. The line spacing didn't match the journal style I'd just seen. And the notary's last name, Hayes, had a tiny nick in the H, like a printer stutter that wasn't on Sharon's card. I held Sharon's card next to it. Clean H on the card. Nicked H on the document. See that? I said, voice calm because it needed to be. The stamp isn't the stamp. The letter form is off. Paula glanced and shrugged. Fonts vary. Stamps don't, I said. Not when they're the same stamp. I flipped the page. The signature line had my name and someone else's confidence. Under it, the notary wrote her commission expiration date. It didn't match the registry date the clerk had read me. Amy's receipt was in my pocket, warm from my hand. Cert fee 12. The little line of proof that I'd stood in the right room, asked the right question, paid a price to know. I slid it out and put it with the stack like a white flag that meant the opposite. Jasmine reached to gather the papers. We don't need to. Don't, I said, and placed my finger on the seal. This is wrong. She froze. The room went quiet except for the fridge making its lonely, honest hum. Hank leaned in. Dorothy notary stamp doesn't match, I said, and didn't look away from my daughter. And we're going to make that matter. By noon, the street knew something. It always does. News in Oak Park travels in a line of sight. Hank to his wife to the dog walking trio to the neighborhood group chat where punctuation goes to die. I felt it before I read it. A longer look from the mailman. A wave that arrived late. Then the ping. Oak Park neighbors. A post from Carla M. with a sunflower avatar. Gentle reminder. If a resident is experiencing cognitive decline, families may need extra grace. Don't jump to conclusions when you hear sirens. 12 hearts. 1. Praying. 2. Exactly. Cognitive decline. 2 words that turn a woman into a rumor. I typed and erased 3 replies. I settled on none. Hank texted instead. Coffee. Neutral location. 10. I sent a thumbs up and a picture of the diner. He replied with a better picture. The place next to the hardware store where they still make toast with butter that tastes like 1975. We met in the booth that sags. You saw it? He asked, eyes on my face, not the chat. I saw it. He sipped like coffee could be armor. Carla means well. Meaning well is a hobby here. I said, locks are a lifestyle. People think fights are symmetrical. He said, they're not. I took out my phone and put it between us like a placemat. Nina from EMS said there's a follow-up wellness check they can do. Non-urgent. Voluntary. She gave me a card. I slid the card across. Northwestern EMS Community Care Nina Park Paramedic. On the back, a time scribble. Tomorrow 11. Quick look in. Good. Hank said. Third-party oxygen. Jasmine will call it a scene. Good. He said again. Let her. Scenes have lights. Back home. I baited a hook. Text to Jasmine. Need your help fixing a loose floorboard in my room before EMS arrives tomorrow. Would hate for them to think the house is unsafe. I left it there like cheese in a trap. Red receipt pinged at once. Jasmine, everything is safe. Please do not schedule strangers without informing me. Me. They already scheduled me. Standard aftercare. I told them you'd be here to answer questions about my medication custody. The dots blinked, went away, came back. Jasmine, that's not the phrase me. Which phrase, Jasmine? Custody. It sounds adversarial. Me. It's accurate. Jasmine, use support. Me. I'll use custody. She didn't answer. The words sat between us. Small but heavy. Sunday. Marcus insisted on church. It'll be good to be seen, he said, as if seen and known were the same thing. The sanctuary smelled like candles and dust warmed by stained glass. The ushers shook my hand too long, looking for tremors. The music went on and on. After in the fellowship hall, the coffee was strong, and the cookies were the same oatmeal raisin they've served since the moon landing. The committee ladies circled like bees that forgot which flower to sting. Dorothy, said Pat, head of benevolence. Her hair is a helmet that has never lost a war. We have a deacon visit schedule if you need rides. We also have a resources list for she softened the word like butter on toast. Caregivers. I have a car. I said not about cars. She said it's about help. Jasmine tells me you're proud that tracks. I said pride breaks hips. She said with a laugh. We'd hate for you to fall. Marcus materialized at my elbow, artfully worried. Isn't Pat wonderful? He said, I told her. You're adjusting. To what? I asked. Pat's smile didn't change. To life's new season. I put my paper cup down. Pat, does your committee ever check on locked doors? She blinked like I'd switched languages. We focus on hearts. Doors have hearts, I said. They're just made of brass. Marcus tightened his hand on my arm. We're leaving, he said with a public voice. Dorothy's tired. On the way out, Pastor James gave me the look pastors get when they smell litigation. You know I'm here, he said. I know, I said. Be where you are. In the lot, a text arrived from an unknown number. Hi. Dorothy. It's Paula. Want to circle back after worship? We can recalibrate. The word recalibrate made me want to unscrew something. Me. We're not machines, Paula. And yet alignment helps. I pocketed the phone and breathed the ordinary air. Back on our street, Hank's wife, Deb, was in their yard with clippers, decapitating the lilies that were doing their best. She watched Marcus steer me up the walk, then called. Too casual. Everything okay, Dorothy? We prayed about locks, I said. She made a face and cut a flower harder than it deserved. Inside, Marcus was gentle with the front door, like it might bruise. You were unkind to Pat, he said. She's pure intention. Pure intention leaks, I said. At 2, my supposed ally arrived. Paula chose a soft blue blouse and a smile that didn't stick this time. I sensed a resistance, she said, like a medium translating a ghost. Maybe I moved too fast. You moved on script, I said. Your script has bubbles where names go. Jasmine hovered, performative patience shining like a coat of polyurethane. We all want the same thing, she said. Calm. I want safety, I said. Calm is dessert. Paula clasped her hands in a triangle. The mediator prayer. What if we narrow the scope? Finance remains with Jasmine, but you know, I said, she tried again. What if we delay the listing until there is no listing? Marcus's mouth twitched. Paula saw it and pretended not to. Words matter, she said to me. When you say custody, people hear court. When you say support, people hear family. I said what I meant. She inhaled through her nose and exhaled professionalism. All right then. Let's document today's agreements. No further lock use. Medications remain in your possession. Jasmine will not access accounts without your written consent. You will not schedule third parties, EMS for example, without notifying them. Strike the last sentence, I said. It's reasonable. It's control. Jasmine leaned in. Mom. I looked at her the way I look at a cheap tool that claims it won't break. You can be here when EMS comes. I invited you. That's the notice. Paula opened her folder, then closed it. I'll draft something flexible, she said. We can all sleep. You can, I said. I've been sleeping next to a lock that clicks in the dark. She gathered her things with dignity. At the door, she turned. Narratives calcify, she said softly. Once the street believes one, facts get quiet. Consider grace. I prefer microphones, I said. She tilted her head, confused, and left. Evening brought the kind of sky that makes you think about childhood. Fat clouds, lemon light, a breeze that smelled like hose water. I took my folding chair to the front porch like a woman in a painting. Hank drifted over with 2 beers, sat on the step with the slow old man groan we've both earned. Deb says I shouldn't get involved, he said. She's right, I said. He opened a beer and handed it to me. I'm involved. We sat in the small, good silence. Kids biked wobbly circles. A woman jogged like she hated it. Across the way, Carla herself waved. I lifted the bottle. She gave me the smile people keep for the very old and the very young. What do you need me to do tomorrow? Hank asked. Stand on your porch and be you, I said. Sometimes a witness stops a lie from finishing its sentence. He nodded. Deb's got the ring set to trigger on voices now. Picks up across the hedges. I told her not to, but she did. Says the neighborhood raccoons keep getting into the trash. Smart raccoons, I said. Night came gradual, a dimmer slide. Marcus went out to water the ferns with the care of a nurse. Jasmine paced the front walk on her phone, talking low and legal. When she went inside, Marcus stayed. Water hissed and pattered. His face was calm in the porch light, clear and young. In that way faces get when they think no one is listening. I was listening. So was the ring across the hedges. Hey, he said to someone I couldn't see. A whisper, then a laugh. No, she's not signing yet. A pause. I know what you said, but it's Messier. The neighbor is nosy. The EMT woman, the worst. She sees through me. He bent over a fern and drowned it a little. We started this in May. Remember when she went in for the surgery consult and Jasmine found the tax folder? That was the green light. He chuckled. I know. Don't say that out loud, but it's been months. I'm tired of being polite. He straightened, stretched his back, took the hose off the stream, and set it to mist like a person cooling off a truth. We'll get the $300,000. The house is an ATM with shingles. You promised Toho. I want Toho. Another laugh smaller. Yes, baby. I'll delete this. I always delete. He looked down at his phone, thumb moving, then glanced toward our door. Tomorrow EMS comes. If they take her in, we move fast. If not, I call Sharon again and we backdate a thing that looks boring. The hose drooped and dripped on his shoe. Jasmine hates when I say the quiet part. The porch light hummed. The mist made the air into diamonds. Marcus turned the water off, shook his hands, and padded inside, leaving a wet footprint moonscape on the concrete. Across the hedges, Hank didn't move. He didn't have to. The ring had already done the work. Pale blue light pulsing. Recording. Remembering my phone buzzed a second later. Ring activity. New recording. Front yard. Hank must have set me as a shared user after my window yell. The title line said voice detected. I opened it. The clip loaded. The waveform looked like a secret learning to walk. I slid the volume up, heart in my throat, and listened to Marcus's voice repeat every word he just said, clean and impossible to misunderstand. May Toho, backdate, $300,000. The timestamp stamped it honest. The night stamped it undeniable. Jasmine's shadow crossed the inside hallway. Footsteps came to the door. The knob turned. I put the phone face down on my knee and let the ordinary calm sit on my face. She stepped onto the porch like a woman checking the weather for a fire. Tomorrow, she said, goes the way it should. You'll be agreeable. We'll be done. Tomorrow, I said, goes the way it does. She studied me, hunting tells. Finding none, she smiled the brochure smile. Sleep well, she said, and went in. The door shut. The porch went back to being wood and air. My phone buzzed again. Hank. You got that. Me. Got it. Hank. Backups on my end. Cloud plus USB. Deb says hi. Me. Tell Deb her raccoons are patriots. Inside. The house clicked and settled. The refrigerator made its lonely hum. Sharon is wonderful. Sharon Hayes. Yes. Her face brightened. You know her. Not yet, I said. She placed a business card on top of the trifold with 2 gentle taps. I have a 1 p.m. at your place. All we need is a signature to make the storm go away. I took the card. Storm out by the lake. She blinked. What? Nothing. I said we left her in the hallway to staple peace to the corkboard. Hank drove me to a strip mall where Oak Park Notary Services lived in a storefront wedged between a tax place and a vape shop. The bell over the door chimed without confidence. A small woman with perfect hair looked up from a phone at a desk that had 3 pens on chains and a tray of peppermints. Walk in. She asked. Do you have ID? I want to ask about a notarization last week. I said, for me. We notarize a lot of things, she said, smile loyally. Name. I told her. She checked her computer. Yes, home visit. Durable POA. Her eyes flicked to me. We met. You were in a blue sweater. I don't own a blue sweater, I said. She laughed. Practiced. Maybe green in bad light. Memory is funny. Do you have your journal? I asked. Journals are private, she said too fast. They're not, I said quietly. They're statutorily available to signers. She didn't move for a second, then slowly opened a drawer and pulled out a book the size of a phone book. She set it on the desk with one hand. I'll need to cover unrelated entries. Fine, she flipped to last week. A line with my name. Date. Type of ID presented. Her tidy handwriting. State ID. ID number. A number that wasn't mine. Signature of signer. A scroll that looked like a parody of my name. Thumb print. An oval swirl in ink. Not mine. I put a finger on the stamp number at the bottom of the entry. 48192. The same as the scan. She let me look. She didn't let me touch. Where did you meet me? I asked. Your house. Which room? She smiled again. The dining room. We sat at the table your daughter stood behind you, proud. Hank shifted his weight. That table hasn't been clear enough to sit at since '08, he said. Sharon's smile tightened at the edges. Is there a problem? Yes, I said softly. There's a problem. That's not my signature. That's not my thumb. I held up my hand. The pad is smooth and nicked from a lifetime of normal things. And I wasn't wearing a blue sweater. She looked at the entry like it might flower into something else if she stared hard enough. Perhaps you forgot. I might forget a TV actor's name, I said. I don't forget being talked into making someone else me. She put a hand on the journal, fingers curled. If you believe this is an error, you're welcome to file a complaint with the Secretary of State's office. I will, I said, and I'll take a photo of that entry. You will not, she said, sharp now. Then I'll copy the details by hand, I said just as sharp. You can watch. I took out the discharge packet and used the back of it like a clipboard. I wrote the date, the ID number, the stamp number. My hand was steady, which felt like a small miracle. When we stepped outside, Jasmine's car nosed into a spot 2 down from Hank's. Brakes hot. She got out fast, face bright with a smile she'd already used too many times. Field trip, she said. You should have told me. I did, I said. You didn't like the itinerary. She looked over my shoulder through the glass at Sharon, who pretended to be absorbed by a peppermint wrapper. We have Paula coming at 1, she said. Let's not make this ugly. You already did, I said. She lowered her voice. I'm trying to keep you safe by spending my money without asking. It's not spending, she said. It's repositioning. She said it like a realtor showing me a smaller room. We'll protect your equity. We'll simplify. Northwestern took a chunk. The house can take it. We're not stupid, Mom. She leaned in. This is me protecting you from yourself, from scams, from Hank even. You don't know what people want. I know what you want, I said. You're not quiet about it. Her jaw showed itself. Just a second, then gone. Get in the car. We'll be late. I'm riding with Hank, I said. Hank cleared his throat. I can stay out of this. You're in it, neighbor, I said. You were there when I yelled from a window. Jasmine's eyes cut to Hank. Friendly gone. This is family, she said. And you made it public, I said. Somewhere. A neighbor set their alarm. In the quiet, the Ring app showed the little download arrow. I tapped it. The bar filled in segments, steady as a woman taking back a room. When it finished, I named the file start date. The save icon blinked once like a wink. The porch light flickered. Just the loose bulb I always forget to tighten, and shadows rearranged themselves on the front path. From inside, Jasmine laughed at something on TV. Bright and easy, like someone who had never said, May Toho backdate. I sat very still and let the truth finish its sentence. Morning made everything look reasonable. That's how mornings lie. Hank texted. Clip sounds clean on my laptop. Deb says, wave if you need her to accidentally drop cookies at 10:58 tomorrow. The scare quotes around accidentally did their little dance. Downstairs, Jasmine had laid out papers on the island with a pride that wanted applause. The trifold from Paula was gone. In its place, a stapled packet with a cover page that said, Home Safety Transfer, Voluntary, and a line for my initials on each page, like a breadcrumb trail through a maze. She slid the top sheet to me and tapped a signature line pre-filled with my name. My hand, but not. I didn't touch it. Before you get theatrical, she said cheerfully. This is a clean version. We'll redo signatures, new notary, new everything. Belt and suspenders. Whose belt? I asked. Whose suspenders? Yours, she said, smiling. You get to relax. We handle repair bids, bills, and any sale discussions if they happen. Nothing moves without a conversation. She lifted her eyebrows at the last word. See, consent. Marcus swaned in with 2 mugs like a hospitable crow. We're trying so hard, he said. I set the packet down. You started this in May, I said. Try harder. Their eyes did that dart. Quick to each other, quick away. Marcus masked it with an oops smile. She records now, he told Jasmine. Everything. Smart, Jasmine said, not missing a beat. Transparency helps. Transparency doesn't lock doors, I said. She exhaled through her nose, then switched to logistics, her native tongue. Okay, 2 things. 1, realtor is swinging by at 3 to measure in case we need comps to show the bank for a refi. That's all. 2, the city inspector is doing a safety check we requested. Grab bars, smoke detectors, totally routine. Requested by who? By people who care, she said. You're welcome. I took my phone from my pocket and texted Hank. City inspection plus realtor at 3. Coincidence or choreography? He shot back a raccoon gif, shrugging. Useful as scripture. I made tea. I took my pills where they could see. I left the drawer open. Ownership needs light. Then I set a little clock for myself. 11 a.m. Nina from EMS. I wanted her eyes in the house before the afternoon show. And I wanted a timeline that couldn't be argued with. I went to my room and put on the blue shirt I bought for weddings and wore to none. I looked like a woman who believed paper. I gathered 3 things from the drawer and the kitchen. The bank receipt cert fee 12 hours with yesterday's date in stubborn ink. The ring clip on my phone named start date ready to play a grocery receipt from May. Milk, lemons, nails, because it was the day after my surgery consult. The day Jasmine forgot me. The day she had time to plan. Artifacts cap, I told myself. No more than 3 on stage at once. Let each thing do its job. At 10:57, EMS boots on the steps. Hank whistled from his porch like a bird that knows a hunter. Nina's voice again, bright steel. Hi, Dorothy. Just a check-in. Jasmine materialized with hospitality. We're so grateful, she said. Mom's doing much better. Great. Nina said, already looking at me. How's the breathing holds when nothing sits on it? I said, any new symptoms? Only administrative, I said. Her mouth did the ghost of a smile. We sat at the table, which had been clearest since '08. Leo took vitals. Numbers were numbers. Nina glanced at the kitchen. The camera dot under the cabinet blinked like a guilty eye. You changing anything in the home? She asked. Installation day, Jasmine said. New smoke detectors. Grab bars. We love safety. Same, she said. And phones. My phone lives with me, I said, and set it on the table like a dog that sits. Nina nodded, something like relief crossing her face. Okay, my card has a non-emergency line, she said, writing on the back. Community care unit can do pop-ins by request. You can request, not her. She looked at Jasmine when she said her. Boundaries help. Marcus laughed softly. We adore boundaries. Nina stood. We're good here. Call if anything changes. Then softer to me. Tomorrow there's a courthouse clinic about elder financial safety. Free noon. If you show up, 10 minutes could buy you months. I tapped my pocket where the $12 receipt lived. I buy things now. I said when they left. Jasmine shut the door with care, then threw the bolt in a way she tried to make sound like habit. That was unnecessary, she said. Light. Necessary, I said. And done. Lunch was performatively cheerful. Marcus narrated a show he isn't really watching. Jasmine read an article out loud about estate scams like I am the audience and the warning, both. I responded to neither. At 2:40, I went to the bathroom and stayed until 2:58 because sometimes strategy looks exactly like being old. At 3:01, the realtor came with a tape measure and the energy of a woman who treats square footage like a love language. Hi, I'm Lena, she sang. I'll be quick, just getting a sense. There is no sense, I said. She laughed as if I'd flirted. We love a sense of humor. She started measuring walls that don't want to know their numbers. At 3:07, a white City of Oak Park Prius nosed up. An inspector in a polo with a clipboard knocked with the authority of a man who can fail your day. Building safety. Perfect timing, Jasmine said like she'd summoned the sun and expected a tip. We split into teams. Lena took corners and photos that tried to make our house taller. The inspector, Grady, per the badge, checked smoke detectors, then peered at the bathroom, counting grab bars the way saints count sins. Marcus flanked him with concern. We want to keep her safe, he told him. She forgets things. I forget TV actors, I said. I remember doors. Grady grunted. Neutral. He wrote advisory. Add second rail at steps on his form. Marcus leaned in. Is that a requirement? Advisory, he repeated. Strongly. Strongly, he echoed, filing the word under leverage. In the kitchen, Lena held up her phone to get a wide shot and caught the under cabinet dot. Cute night light, she said absently. It blinks, I said. Jasmine stepped between her lens and the light, smiling prettily. Angles are tricky, she said. I waited until she measured my bedroom. She measured the closet, too, because closets are money to people like her. When she turned to go, I placed the bank receipt on the dresser like a coaster. What's that? She asked. Because curious is a realtor's heartbeat. Proof of time, I said. Yesterday. She smiled like she didn't get the joke and stepped out. Back in the kitchen, I laid my 3 items on the island with church bulletin com. Start date on my phone, ready to play. May receipt, $12 bank copy fee. Before we continue the tour of my remaining privacy, I said to the room, you'll want to hear the man you hired. Marcus's chin lifted a millimeter. Who? I tapped. Start date. His voice filled the kitchen, precise and damning. We started this in May. We'll get the $300,000. If they take her in, we move fast. If not, I call Sharon again and we backdate a thing that looks boring. Lena stopped measuring. Grady stopped writing. Jasmine didn't move at all. Only her nostrils did like a horse in a storm. Context, Marcus said quickly. I was venting about backdating with Sharon, I said. Here's May. I slid the grocery receipt next to the phone. Day after the consult, the day the plan started. And here's yesterday. Bank copy. The day your plan tried to spend money. I noticed. Grady cleared his throat. I'm just here about rails, he said, almost apologetic and backed toward the door, professionalism wobbling. Lena swallowed. I'm going to step outside, she said in a voice a little higher than her brand. I have a call. Great, Jasmine said to no one, all teeth. Everyone, take a field trip. When they were gone, she looked at me with a face that had no brochure left. You think this wins? It buys me time. She nodded once, slow. Time is elastic, she said. And paper cures everything. She reached into the stack and pulled out the safety transfer draft. You're going to sign this not because I deserve it, because you're tired. I'm angry, I said. Angry stays up late. We stood in that small war until the front door opened without a knock. Rude official is its own key. A woman in a dark blazer stepped in with a man who could bench press a filing cabinet. She held a thin packet like a sermon and wore a badge that said process server in a font that didn't need to be fancy. Dorothy, she said, gentle like a nurse and sharp like a blade. Are you Dorothy? Last name. Yes. She checked a line. You are hereby served. Paper touched my hand. The packet was heavier than it looked. Petition for temporary determination of incapacity sat on top in the font bureaucracy's use when they want to be God. The next line, ex parte. Immediate relief requested. Jasmine exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for the whole century. This is just to keep you safe while things cool down, she said softly. Too soft. It's normal. Marcus didn't speak. He didn't need to. His eyes went to the page like a cat watching a bird that has finished flying. I flipped the first sheet. Affidavit paragraphs stacked like bricks. Words like impulsive and confused and wanders grinned up at me in black ink. A bullet point about locking herself in rooms tried to rewrite the prophecy. Tomorrow, the server said, still gentle. A judge will decide whether to grant a temporary order. You'll have a chance to respond. There's a hotline, she pointed to a box. If you need help, please sign here to acknowledge receipt. She clicked a pen out of her sleeve. The click sounded like the lock did. I signed the line that didn't mean I agreed. The pen left a trench. Thank you, she said, and left the air colder than she found it. I stared at the heading again. Temporary determination of incapacity. I said the words under my breath like a woman crying out a foreign prayer. Jasmine fixed her shirt. You'll stay with us during the evaluation, she said. Calm, rehearsed. No more EMS drop-ins. No more Hank. No more surprises. I slid my 3 artifacts together and palmed them like a gambler who actually holds something. There are surprises left, I said. She tilted her head, the old affection peeking out like a kid behind a curtain. Mom. Jasmine. We stood with the petition between us. The house hummed its lonely, honest hum. Outside, Lena pretended to be on a call. The city Prius coughed to life and rolled away. On page 4 in small type, a hearing time. Tomorrow 9 a.m. Cook County Courthouse, Division B. Under it, a line, proposed guardian agent Jasmine, last name. I read it twice so the letters would know I'd seen them. Good, I said, surprising us both with how steady it sounded. Morning is clean. Marcus recovered his smile. We'll bring coffee, he said. Bring Sharon, I said. Something cold walked across Jasmine's face. It left footprints. I carried the packet to my room and set it on the dresser next to the $12 receipt like two enemies who have to share a bed. The clock I'd set for myself ticked in my head. 9 a.m. tight. I imagined a courtroom full of strangers, some friendly, some bored, one with a pen, deciding if the word temporary meant what it said. I picked up my phone and opened the start date clip. The waveform waited, innocent as a child. My thumb hovered. I didn't hit play. I named a new voice memo. Morning. I pressed record. The red dot walked forward. In the doorway, the light shifted. A shadow broke the frame. Jasmine's voice soft. So soft. This will be easier, she said, if you let me finish it. The lock on the new hardware clicked in my head, loud as a gavel. The petition said 9 a.m. tomorrow, paper with teeth. I called the number Nina penciled. A woman answered like she'd been waiting for me. Elder Safety Clinic. Dorothy, I said, I'm learning to buy time. Good hobby, she said. 2 things right now. Write a 1-page timeline in plain words and don't sign anything. Also, call the advocate hotline. She read me a number. Tell them you need a brief. Brief like short. Brief like sharp, she said. Bring proof, not stories. I hung up, then dialed the hotline. A man picked up and skipped hello. Name. Dorothy. Clock. Court in the morning. Copy. You want 3 moves. Freeze. Locks. Witnesses. Freeze what they touch. Change what they enter. Put eyes where stories grow. Can you do that by dinner? I can do 2 by lunch. Good enough, he said. Write me a bullet list and text it. I'll send a 1-page template. You'll read it to the judge like you're calling in the weather. Click. I printed with my thumb. Bullet list. May start date. Consult tax folder. Door locks begin. EMS visit. Phone seizure. Locked in. Nina witness. Bank alert. $12 copy. POA mismatch. Sharon journal. Stamp off. Ring clip. Marcus says backdate $300,000. Petition served. Hearing 9 a.m. tomorrow. I breathed, then did the freeze piece. Amy at the bank recognized my voice. Passphrase? She asked. Hank. Her smile came through the line. What can I do, Ms. Dorothy? New cards on the savings and utilities accounts. 2. Text alerts on any attempt over $20. And please note, no agent access. In-person ID required. Done, she said. Keys clacked like a locksmith for money. Do you want a temporary withdrawal code for emergencies? 6 digits expires in 72 hours. Yes, say it. I looked out the window at the maple leaves shaking like coins. 197575, I said. Locked, she said. Anything else? Yes. If a transfer request comes that mentions the word refi, what happens? We call you first twice, she said. Then we don't do it. Bless you, I said. Tell the judge you made our morning interesting, she said and hung up. Freeze done. Next locks. I drove to the hardware store with Hank in the passenger seat because eyes matter. The kid at the counter wore a name tag that said Milo and a look that said he respects socket sets more than people. 2 quick set cylinders, same key and a deadbolt. I said, installing yourself? Milo asked. Yes. You got hands. He said, approving. Don't over-talk. I over-talk only hearts. I said. He didn't laugh. Good kid. Back home. I set the bag on the hall table like groceries and went to the front door. Jasmine was working at the island. Laptop open to a spreadsheet that didn't want her. She watched me unwrap metal like I was unwrapping a bomb. What are you doing? She asked. Changing locks I paid for, I said. That's not necessary. It is now. Hank leaned on the jamb and looked like a man who's seen 1,000 thresholds and knows who owns which side. I pulled the old cylinder, set the screws in a dish, and slid the new one in like I remembered how. Muscle memory is its own testimony. 5 minutes. Turn. Test. The brass felt honest in my hand. Give me your copy key, I said, palm out. She made a surprised face, the kind people wear when they need time. I don't pocket, I said. She waited 1 beat too long, then took out the little ring with too many gym tag remnants and a cheap bottle opener and my house key sticking out of the pocket like guilt. She dropped it into my palm, metal clinking. Back door too, I said. Marcus tried a smile. This is punitive. This is custody, I said. Of doors. The back door took longer because old houses like to hold on to their past. The deadbolt stuck, then surrendered. I kept the new keys in my front pocket. Heat from my body making them mine faster. When I finished, I placed a single new key in a small bowl by the door where I've kept keys since the smoking era. For emergencies only, I said. Ask first. Jasmine said nothing. Her jaw moved like she was chewing stone. Third move. Witnesses. I texted Nina. Clip exists. Marcus backdate. Locks changed. Bank alerts on. Hearing 9 a.m. If you have a minute to stand in the hallway tomorrow, I'd be grateful. She wrote back fast. On shift at 8. Can swing by before judge time. Can't testify, but I can be a face. A face matters. So does glass. I turned to Hank. Your ring still shares to me. Deb made sure he said. He held up a USB stick like a priest with a wafer. Marcus's clip-on here, too. Keep the original, I said. Cloud is moody. We ate a late sandwich because I forgot lunch. I wrote the 1-page timeline on the advocate's template. The paper had 3 boxes. Facts. Artifacts. Ask. Facts. Daughter took phone plus locked room. EMS arrival, bank alert, forged or flawed POA, petition served, artifacts, bank $12 receipt, start date clip, notary journal details, Amy's note to file, EMS card, ask, deny temporary incapacity, order no lockouts, order medication custody to me, schedule formal hearing with counsel. I printed 2 copies. I set one by the door with my wallet and the $12 receipt. The other I slid into the drawer with the pills. I'm old. I staged things. At 4, I did a brave thing that looked small. I took a nap. When you fight, you need sleep like soldiers need maps. I woke at dusk to the house with its night voice. The street softened. The porch light hummed. Somewhere a baseball game mumbled into a TV room where nobody was really watching. Downstairs, the front door clicked. I stood in the hall and listened. Footsteps, voices low, a scrape at the back. I went to the kitchen and flipped on the light. Jasmine stood at the slider, hand at the lock she couldn't open. She didn't turn when I spoke. Looking for something? She tested the latch like a dentist testing a tooth. Where's the spare? She asked. In the bowl, I said. Ask. She didn't. She moved to the laundry room where the side door leads to the garage and tried that. New hardware met old habits and won. Marcus drifted in like smoke. This is petty, he said. What if there's a fire? Then you ask for the key and I hand it to you, I said. Fast. Jasmine laughed once, not amused. She took out her phone, typed, looked, typed again. We have an evaluation in the morning, she said. Be reasonable tonight. I'm reasonable every night, I said. Other people do tricks. She pocketed the phone and smiled like she decided to be indulgent. Good night, Mom. Good night, Jasmine. She walked past me toward the hall. When she drew even, her shoulder brushed mine on purpose. You're going to lose, she said pleasantly, like talking about weather. Not tonight, I said. She stopped at the doorway and turned just enough for me to see the real thing in her face. You think a clip and a receipt beat paper? She murmured. Courts love paper. I have a stack. Judges love time, I said. I'm buying some. She stared, then left. Steps even. At 9 o'clock, Hank texted. You want company on the stoop? Come sit, I wrote. We sat like women and men do when we're trying to pretend we're not guarding anything. Deb sent out a plate of the infamous cookies by accident, then hugged it onto our laps and went back in. The moon was a fingernail. The maples whispered gossip. Jasmine came out at 9:30 with a bag for the trash. Casual. She paused at the bottom step. Evening, she said to Hank. Perfectly polite. Evening, Hank said, not moving. Jasmine put the bag in the can and on the way back couldn't resist. She stepped close enough that only Hank's ring would hear the real thing. Tomorrow, she said for me, quiet and precise. You'll tell the judge you're confused. You had a panic attack. You exaggerated because you were embarrassed. You will not mention May. You will not say backdate. You will not say $300,000. You will say family. If you do not, your final years get narrow. I can make narrow. I kept my face calm and my hands still and my lungs working. You said that once, I said. Say it again. She leaned in, breath mint sharp, eyes flat. Your final years get narrow, she repeated slower. Say the word if you understand. I looked over her shoulder at Hank, who didn't blink. The ring across the hedge pulsed its small blue pulse. It heard, it kept, it dated. Narrow, I said softly, like a woman testing a bridge. Jasmine smiled. Good. She straightened, smoothed her shirt, and went inside, the door catching the jam with a soft kiss. Hank didn't speak. He tapped his phone once, then twice, like checking a pulse. A second later, my phone buzzed in my palm. Ring activity. New recording. Front walk. Title. Voice detected. The little thumbnail showed Jasmine's shoulder and my mouth and the sliver of Hank's hydrangea glowing like spectators. I pressed. The clip opened. Waveform crisp. Audio clean. Jasmine's whisper came through like she'd recorded it in a studio. Narrow. May backdate. $300,000. Every syllable in its seat. Hank let out a breath. Clean as a whistle, he said. I prefer gavel. I said, tomorrow, he said. Tomorrow, I said back. We sat another minute because people do. Then I stood and locked the front door with the new key on the inside and felt the small click land in the right place this time. Upstairs, I put the timeline, the $12 receipt, and the USB Hank slid me into the little canvas pouch I used to keep travel soaps in. I set it by my wallet. I set my phone on the charger and watched the lightning bolt appear like hope. In the dark, the house breathed easy. For once, so did I. At midnight, a notification flashed across the screen on the dresser, bright enough to paint the ceiling. Ring. Front walk recording saved to cloud. I didn't get up. I already knew the sound of that clip. It sounded like a door opening. Morning came with the quiet of a house holding its breath. I made toast because butter tastes like courage if you let it. I put the little canvas pouch timeline $12 receipt USB by my wallet like a soldier laying out her kit. At 7:30, Marcus ghosted into the kitchen in the robe that says soft and the eyes that say steel. He set a mug down where my hand would find it if my hand were his. Can we talk before court? He asked, summer camp gentle. We can, I said. He perched, knees together. The performance of consideration. I don't want a courtroom to tell us who we are, he said. Sign the care plan today. I'll text Paula. She'll notarize after court becomes unnecessary. You keep the house. We keep peace. Peace is pricey when you sell at retail, I said. His smile didn't crack. I am asking you to spare Jasmine. This will humiliate her. He lowered his voice. She'll never get over a public scene. There are private scenes on file, I said. He breathed out through his nose like he could exhale me into compliance. Sign and I will call the realtor and tell her to stop. I will tell Carla the neighborhood rumor mill is closed. We'll put this to bed. He touched the table like he was patting a dog. You get to be safe without being a spectacle. There it was. The price tag. What's the rush if it's all for me? I asked. His eyes flicked to the clock. 9 a.m. is a mill that grinds women. I am trying to get you out from between the stones. Bring me the folder, I said. He blinked. Which folder? The one you and Paula want me to sign. I'll look. If it's what you claim, I'll sign after court. I smiled like I could be moved. If you're telling the truth, you have nothing to fear from morning. I don't, he started, recalculated. Fine. I'll get it, I stood first. No, I said lightly. My room, top drawer. I'll make it easy. I walked ahead of him so he'd see me open the drawer. Inside on top of the pills and receipts, a crisp manila with a tab that said meds in my neat block letters. I'd made it last night with photocopies and a note that said, please return to Dorothy. The real papers lived elsewhere. The canvas pouch by my wallet and the brick phone in the garage with my heart in it. This? I asked, tapping the decoy. Yes, he said too quickly. I put it on the dresser, then remembered my glasses and stepped to the bathroom. I leaned on the sink and watched the mirror watch the door. In the glass, Marcus's hand hovered, then took the folder smooth as a shoplifter with practice. He moved to the doorway, paused, listened, then padded down the hall on his careful feet. I counted to 10 like a child and followed. The front hall framed the scene like a painting. Marcus at the door, folder tucked under his arm. Jasmine opening from the stoop with the smile for strangers she saves for days like this. Got it. She whispered from her drawer, he whispered back, not whispering small enough. She'll sign or she'll be sorry. We'll put it back later. The ring across the hedge pulsed blue blinked voice detected. Did its good dumb job. Hank appeared at the edge of the porch like a man remembering he forgot his mail. He looked at the folder, looked at their hands, looked at me behind them in the hall. Morning, he said to no one, which is the kind of hello that becomes a record. Marcus flushed, then paled. He pushed past the folder tight against his ribs and headed for the car. Jasmine blocked the frame for a heartbeat, just enough to be a door. Then she stepped aside, brochure manners back on. "We'll meet you there," she said. "Bring Sharon," I said. She smiled with teeth and left. In the cul-de-sac, Deb pretended to adjust a wind chime that is never chimed right. Carla walked a golden retriever that should be in a calendar. Eyes moved, heads turned. The folder, fat and human, rode under Marcus's arm across the shared world like a confession. My phone buzzed. Ring activity. New recording. Front door. Voice detected. I tucked the decoy back on the dresser. Pills on top like a lid. At 8:10, I put on a jacket that fits where it needs to and doesn't where it doesn't. I picked up the canvas pouch and my wallet. The new keys were warm in my pocket. I locked the front door from the inside and turned to Hank on the porch. "You ready?" I asked. "Been ready since 1969, he said. We stood a second because people do. Deb came out holding a Tupperware she swore was an accident. "Snacks for after," she said louder than necessary. Carla slowed her dog and watched us like a show. "Carla," I said pleasantly, "do you lock doors from the outside in your house?" She blinked. "We have a toddler lock on the pantry." "Of course," I said and smiled. The dog wagged. Carla blushed. The cul-de-sac leaned. In the car, I opened the new clip. The audio was clean enough you could eat off it. From her drawer. "We'll put it back later." I sent it to the brick in the garage with one thumb, then to Nina with the subject. "For your eyes," she replied with a dot and a check mark. I like people who don't waste words. At the light by the courthouse, Pastor James crossed in front of us, collar on, eyes full of last night's worry. He tapped my window with the delicate authority of a man who asks for money for a living. I rolled it down. "You sure?" he asked. "No," I said. "But I'm coming anyway." He nodded. "I said a thing to God," he said. He heard it. "Tell him to sit near the judge," I said. Inside Division B was a room that believes in wood. Benches polished by 1,000 nervous backsides. A seal that looked like it could bite. A clerk who could end your day with a sigh. We sat in the second row. Nina ghosted in and took the aisle end. Uniform muted under a jacket. Face open enough to be human, closed enough to be safe. Jasmine and Marcus slid into the row across the aisle. Paula hovered behind them with a stack of forms like a halo. Carla came because people like Carla always do and sat where she could see and be seen. Sharon was a no-show, which told me something. A woman in a suit with shoes that could kill a spider stood at the front and called names. Small dramas rose and fell. A landlord with a dead-eyed tenant. A custody handoff that made a teenager cry without tears. A man who thought fines are suggestions. The room chewed and swallowed and didn't make a face. In temporary determination of incapacity. Dorothy last name. Our name. Our turn. The judge was a woman with the posture of a metronome and the hair of a person who schedules hair. She checked the file, didn't look up yet. "Petitioner appears," she asked. "Here," Jasmine said, standing with the modesty of a woman who's rehearsed humility. "Respondent," she asked. "Here," I said, standing with the modesty of a woman who can't fake it. She looked up. Her eyes were not unkind. "Good morning," she said. "We're going to be quick and if we can kind. Ms. last name. This is a request to grant a temporary order limiting your control of certain aspects of your life pending evaluation. Have you read it?" "Yes," I said. "Do you consent?" "No," I said. "All right," she said like she appreciates a clean line. She turned to Jasmine Basis. She launched into the script she'd polished to a gloss. "My mother is impulsive. She experiences panic episodes. She locks herself in rooms and calls strangers to the house. She misplaces medications. She is susceptible to," she smiled the sorry smile, "influence. This is about keeping her safe while we recalibrate." "Evidence?" the judge asked. Jasmine held up the petition like a priest holds a wafer. Affidavit as filed. We can supplement with statements from neighbors, she said, nodding at Carla and the community mediator. She nodded at Paula. We have a proposed care plan that protects the home and her health. Anything physical? The judge asked, eyes as flat as a carpenter's level. She hesitated. We didn't want to make this adversarial, she said. Understood, she said. She turned to me. Ms. Last name. Your turn. Short and specific. Facts, not feelings. The advocate's voice sat in my ear. Bring proof, not stories. I took out one sheet. Timeline. I held 2 items in the other hand because 3 would be showing off. The $12 receipt. The USB. Facts. I said 1 on date. My daughter took my phone and locked me in my bedroom. Northwestern EMS arrived. Nina Park present. Nina didn't nod because professionals don't. Her stillness nodded for her. 2. Yesterday morning, my bank sent an alert. I went in. I paid $12 for a certified copy of a power of attorney in my file I didn't sign. I held up the receipt. The judge didn't take it. She read it from her bench like a hawk reads mice. 3. The notary's journal entry does not match my identity. The stamp on the document does not match the notary's registration. The town clerk confirmed the commission details. The notary refused to let me photograph the entry. I copied the numbers by hand. I have names. The clerk's pen clicked once and began to write. The sound made a little tunnel for the next thing. 4, I said. There is audio of my son-in-law discussing backdating documents and targeting the $300,000 value of my house. There is audio of my daughter telling me to narrow my final years if I don't say the words she prefers in this room. Both recordings are from my neighbor's Ring camera across the hedge. The files are timestamped and already saved to cloud and physical media. I held up the USB the way she held up her paper. My hand didn't shake. I don't know why. Maybe the room was holding it steady. Silence. Real silence. The kind that makes even the HVAC think about its choices. Marcus smiled broader. Mom records now, he said lightly. She gets confused. She takes things out of context. Context, I said, is who holds the keys. I took out the new key and set it on the table in front of me. Tiny, dumb, bright. I changed the locks yesterday. I have custody of my medications per my physician's instruction. I am asking for no lockouts, no access to my accounts without my presence and ID and a formal hearing. The judge looked at Nina. First responder present. Ma'am, Nina said, did you witness a lockout? I witnessed Ms. Last Name without her phone. Nina said carefully. I was told a lock engaged inadvertently. I returned the phone to her and recommended she keep custody of medications. A pause. I also observed a camera light under the kitchen cabinet. The judge's mouth went neutral the way judges hide agreement. She turned to Jasmine. Do you dispute the $12 receipt, the bank alert? No, she said. That's all been a misunderstanding. We're safety people. And the audio? She asked. She held her palm up like a woman who has nothing up her sleeve. I haven't heard it, she said. Good, she said. Neither have I. She looked at me. Can you provide a copy to the clerk now? I held up the USB like a small flag. The bailiff took it and delivered it to Wood. Last thing, the judge said, scanning the file again. Ms. Last Name. Are you willing to submit to a capacity evaluation? Yes, I said, preferably by someone who doesn't share a group chat with my daughter. A smile happened near her eyes and died on time. Understood. She set the file down. Temporary determination is denied today. Orders. Respondent retains custody of medications. No lockouts of respondent's bedroom or restriction of communication. No access to respondent's financial accounts without respondent present and ID. Parties to appear for a status conference in 2 weeks with counsel. The clerk will calendar a full hearing if needed after review of the audio and notary complaint. Jasmine's charm cracked 1 centimeter. Additionally, she added almost as an afterthought, I will be sending a referral to the Secretary of State Notary Division regarding the irregularities described. If you are confident, file your complaint today. Already drafted, I said. Of course it is, she said. We're adjourned on this matter. The gavel was a polite tap. The room exhaled. The clerk handed my USB back with a label on it now, a number that meant the system had smelled it and kept a scent. People stood the way people do when they're not sure who they are in a new room. Carla looked at me like a person looks at a painting they've misread. Paula found the floor with her eyes and stayed there. Nina squeezed my forearm once, less than a hug, more than a touch, and ghosted away. We stepped into the hallway that smells like paper and last chances. Hank's hand hovered behind my shoulder like a spotter in a gym. Deb texted and then sent a string of fireworks because she is more modern than me. Marcus tried a smile. It didn't arrive. You're making a show, he whispered. You like being clapped for. I like doors that open from my side, I said. Jasmine didn't speak until we reached the courthouse steps. Sunshine made us all honest. She stood 1 step higher than me because of course she did. Congratulations, she said softly. You bought 2 weeks. Her eyes were coins. Price stays the same. What price? I asked. You testify, she said. Silk over wire. Public Neighbors Church HOA. You say may and backdate into microphones. You drag your life into daylight. That's your double price for keeping this house. She smiled like a woman playing poker with a mirror. And you won't do it because you told me once you'd rather die than be a spectacle. I thought of the care plan on my kitchen island with its rounded fonts. I thought of Carla's sunflower avatar and Pat's helmet hair, and the way Pastor James tapped my window like rain. I thought of the way the Ring app draws a little waveform when the truth starts talking. I changed, I said. She leaned in, breath mint sharp voice for me alone. We're bringing a witness next time, she said. Someone who knows how confused you get. She let the smile bloom. You'll like her. Her. She savored it. Dr. Washington, she said, and watched my face for the flinch she wanted. I didn't give it to her, but inside something cold stood up. See you in 2 weeks, she said, and stepped down into her shadow. The cul-de-sac would get this by dinner, the church by Sunday, the whole street by the time the porch lights clicked on. I held the new key in my pocket until the teeth bit my palm. It helped me stand still on the steps long enough to feel the weight of what she'd just named. Keeping the house would cost me public. I'd already bought the first week. I was going to have to pay the rest in front of everyone. 2 weeks ripen fast when people are watching. By the time the new court date arrived, the cul-de-sac had organized itself into rows. On my side, Hank and Deb with a ziplock of butterscotch. On theirs, Carla with a sunflower pin and a new conviction. In the middle, people pretending to check mail that doesn't come at 8 a.m. I wore the blue shirt again. It looked like a woman who believes paper. I believed evidence. Division B was fuller this time. Public makes a room taller. The judge tapped the file. Status conference converted to evidentiary hearing. She said short, specific, civil. If you don't have something to show, don't say it. Jasmine's attorney had a haircut that could pass inspection. Mine was the advocate clinic lawyer. Sharp suit, cheap briefcase, eyes that wake up before coffee. Petitioner, the judge said. Jasmine stood, voice set to velvet. Your Honor, our ask is a limited guardianship for finances and medical. Nothing dramatic, just order and safety. You'll hear today from her physician and a neutral from our community who can speak to patterns. She sat like a woman who's practiced sitting. Respondent, the judge said. My lawyer stood. Our ask is protection for Ms. last name. No lockouts, sole medication custody, no financial access without her in the room, and recognition that family pressure not incapacity caused the crisis. We'll present 3 artifacts. The judge held up a finger. 3 is plenty. Artifact 1 was the audio. The clerk plugged the labeled USB into their little altar of machines. The room got very quiet, the way rooms do when they're about to become something else. Out of the speakers came Marcus's porch voice, precise and casual as crime. We started this in May. We'll get the $300,000. If they take her in, we move fast. If not, I call Sharon again and we backdate a thing that looks boring. No one moved. The court reporter typed like she was nailing butterflies to a board. Across the aisle, Marcus kept his face on. Only his hands told on him, thumb rubbing the valley of the other like he could erase a fingerprint. Artifact 2 was the front walk clip. Jasmine's whisper studio clean. Your final years get narrow. You will not say May. You will not say backdate. You will not say $300,000. On the screen, you could see the hydrangea glow like witnesses. Marcus didn't flinch. He smiled like a man in a toothpaste ad. Context, he said when asked. She records during episodes. I was de-escalating. The judge made the face judges make when they aren't buying but haven't rung it up yet. Artifact 3 was paper. The court's first love. A notary complaint stamped received by the Secretary of State with Sharon Hayes's journal line not matching my ID. Her stamp number matching her expiration not. The clinic lawyer laid it under a document camera. The form filled the screen, bureaucratic and cold. The clerk compared it to the POA scan already in evidence. Even from the back row, you could see the crooked seal. Even from space, you could see the nick in the H that didn't belong. My lawyer kept the bank's $12 receipt in reserve and simply said, "We bought this truth yesterday and we brought it today." The judge sat back, hands templed, the posture of a woman building a small bridge in her head. "Doctor," she said, turning, "you've been subpoenaed by petitioner." Dr. Washington came forward in scrubs under a blazer, face not friendly, not hostile, clinical. She swore in and took the stand with the annoyance of a person who has patients stacked like planes. Jasmine's lawyer went first. "Doctor, has Dorothy experienced panic episodes?" "Yes," she said. 2 in the last quarter. "Does she have a cardiac history?" "Yes." "Has she ever presented as confused in your office?" "In pain?" "Yes." "Confused?" "No." "Would you recommend family oversight?" "I recommend pill custody remain with the patient," she said. "I told her that in writing. I do not recommend lockouts ever." A small sound went through the benches, the hiss of an audience dropping a popcorn kernel. My lawyer stood. "Doctor, do you see any medical reason to restrict Dorothy's phone or isolate her from neighbors or EMS?" "No," she said. "I advise the opposite." "Do you believe she understands her medications, her condition, and the court today?" "Yes," she said. "She is perhaps more stubborn than strictly necessary." "Same," the judge murmured, almost smiling. Finally, my lawyer said, "Are you aware of any POA you executed for Dorothy?" "I am not," she said. "I have seen copies. They did not pass my sniff test." "Medical term?" the judge asked dry. "Human term," Dr. Washington said. Paula, the mediator, took her shy little turn and tried to speak in neutral verbs. My lawyer let her talk until she said the quiet part out loud. "We prefer quiet solutions." Then he asked, "Quiet for whom?" She didn't say my name. The judge stacked the papers, squared the stack, squared the room. "Orders," she said, voice with edges. "Temporary limited guardianship is denied. The court issues a protective order as to respondent's residence. No lockouts, no seizure of phone or personal effects, no surveillance inside the home without respondent's written consent. Respondent maintains sole medication custody. Petitioner is enjoined from accessing financial accounts without respondent present and ID. The court directs wellness checks by community EMS at reasonable intervals for 60 days. She shifted her gaze to the clerk. Clerk will transmit the audio and notary complaint to the county prosecutor for review and to the Secretary of State Notary Division. This is not a determination of criminal liability. It is a request for eyes. Jasmine's smile stayed where she'd parked it. Something behind it unclipped and fell. Marcus looked at the floor like it owed him something. The gavel tapped. The room breathed. Hank's hand found the back of the bench and patted it like it was a person. Outside on the steps, cameras no one had the right to bring appeared. Anyway, phones from neighbors who became press when the light hit. Public is a mood, not a credential. Carla approached, sunflower pinned like a credential. I may have misread, she said, voice small as a coin. You read what you were handed, I said. Happens. Pastor James hovered with a smile that believed in both of us. Dr. Washington on her way to the parking lot didn't stop. She just lifted her hand once without looking back. Good boundary. I like her more when she's busy. Nina ghosted by, touched her temple like a salute and said to no one, "Wellness check Friday." The words felt like a blanket. Jasmine waited on the sidewalk where the shade made her a silhouette. When I came close, she leaned just enough to keep it private. "You like daylight?" she asked softly. "I do," I said. "It burns," she said. "Careful." She walked away with her hands in her pockets like a girl who'd forgotten her lines. I went home to a house that looked exactly the same and completely different. I made tea. I set my phone on the table like a dog that sits. I opened a window. Air came in that smelled like grass and opinion. At 5:12 p.m. Oak Park neighbors pinged a new post. Lena R., the realtor, had shared a video clip. Community safety reminder. The caption read with a heart. In the clip, a woman, me, raised my voice. True. And a man, Marcus, sounded calm. True for 10 seconds. Context gone, May gone, backdate, and $300,000 gone. The comments went feral fast. Elder abuse is real, but so is dementia. Praying. Exactly. Deb texted a raccoon, shaking its head. Hank replied with a link to nothing because Hank doesn't link. He just shows up. I typed nothing. The street would do what streets do. Make a meal out of a crumb and call it dinner. At 6:03, while I washed a mug clean enough to see myself, a metal thud hit the lawn like an announcement. I looked out the front window. A man in a polo planted a stake with a small sledge and slid a glossy rectangle into the channel. Coming soon. White sign, red letters, a phone number that smiled too hard. I stepped onto the porch, towel in hand, not a tremor in it. The man nodded like this was a neighborly thing. Just staging, he said. We can pull it if I said. He left the hammer prints in the grass and went back to his car. The sign stood there, cheerful as a threat. Kids biked past and read it out loud like a new word. Coming soon. The phrase people use when they're excited to lose something. I sat. Hank crossed the yard with the slow step of a man who knows how to walk while a sign talks. We looked at it together like it was weather. Is it? He asked. Not yet, I said. Good, he said. Deb's got cookies. We didn't move. The porch light flicked on by itself because it knows when to. The ring across the hedge pulsed its small blue pulse, recording the sign the way it records everything without malice, without mercy. In the dim, the white rectangle glowed. Tomorrow it would be just another thing in a yard. Tonight it was a promise someone made without me. I took the new key from my pocket and turned it in my hand until the teeth found their angle in the porch light. Soon, I said to the sign very softly, not yours. The sign slept in my lawn and dreamed of escrow. I let it. Morning came with birds arguing jurisdiction. I made coffee the slow way. When the kettle sang, I poured, sat, and looked at the coming soon, like a crossword I planned to finish in ink. At 9, a knock with knuckles that pay taxes. I opened the door to a uniform I now recognized, a deputy with paperwork and a pen attached to a blue cord. Service of Protective Order, he said, more cheerful than the words. Also, notice of contempt hearing if violations occur. Everyone getting copies today. He handed me mine, then called across the hedges to Hank. Morning. Because the neighborhood is a chorus whether you want it or not. He walked next door, then back across my lawn to Jasmine's door. Marcus answered in a robe the color of surrender. He signed for the envelope with too much pressure. The pen digging a groove that meant nothing and felt like something. Questions? The deputy asked, neutral as bread. I have one, I said. What happens to signs I didn't authorize on private property? Owner says go or stay, he said. He tipped his head at the stake. Your grass. He left. The porch swallowed quiet. I stared at the rectangle until it stopped being language and became plastic again. Then I walked to it, lifted it straight up, slid it off the stake, and carried it to the garage. It leaned against the paint cans like a child in timeout. When I came back out, Jasmine stood at the bottom of the steps, hands visible, smile off. That's interference, she said, pleasant like a warning. That's housekeeping, I said. She glanced at the hedge, calculating what the ring might see. Let's talk reality, she said softly. You won a week. You got your little order. The bank knows your voice. Do you think this is victory? It's stalling. Paper piles up. People forget. Signs come back. Hank's screen door squeaked. He didn't step out. Just let the sound be a witness. Reality, I said, is which side the lock clicks from. She breathed out a laugh. You can't keep this up. You're tired. I could be dead and I wouldn't sell to your timeline, I said, and surprised us both. The words tasted like steel gone warm. She straightened. Fine, she said. We'll do it in public the long way. She turned like a woman exiting a scene with grace and caught sight of Nina coming up the walk in her jacket, badge tucked away, smile small. She pasted on concern. We're fine, she told her, head tilt empathetic. I'm here for Dorothy, she said and stepped past her without touching the air she stood in. Friday wellness, she told me. 2 minutes, then I'm gone. Stay for coffee, I said. Vitals, a few questions, eyes that see. She wrote her note on the little pad. That means the system has a memory. Then drew a square in the air with her finger. Hold this box, she said. Boundaries, meds, money. Anything outside the box. Send to paper. Paper loves paper, I said. Paper loves dates, she corrected. Which reminds me, city attorney asked me to tell you the prosecutor opened a file on the notary complaint. They'll be slow. They're always slow. I'm not, I said. Good, she said. Call me if it clicks. She left. The porch breathed again. By noon, the group chat learned the protective order existed. Carla posted a sunflower and 2 paragraphs about respecting processes. A neighbor I barely know commented, accountability matters with the gravity of someone who once shared a bake sale. I set the phone face down. The street is a radio you can't turn off. You can only choose not to dance. At 2, Lena, the realtor, hovered at the sidewalk with a box of feature sheets that smelled like toner and a face full of apology. I didn't know, she said. I mean, I knew something, but not the order. Do you have a withdrawal form for signs? I asked. It's an email, she said. Sent. Thank you, I said. She shifted her weight. You're not listing, not mine, I said. She nodded like that was philosophy and left the box on the grass for no good reason. The lid flipped once in the breeze like a seal trying to leave the circus. The afternoon bent toward gold. Deb sent over a casserole whose confidence preceded it by 5 minutes. I set it on the stove like a trophy and wrote a thank you on the neighborhood thread because sometimes you feed the street and sometimes it feeds you. At dusk, Pastor James appeared on the walk like a man practicing neutrality. He held a little envelope with my name on it. Real ink pastoral. Not official, he said, making a joke and an underline. Inside a note that said, you are not your worst day and you're not theirs either. Call if you want to borrow the church screwdriver. I smiled despite myself. He grinned. We keep it in the sacristy, he said. It's holy. You're ridiculous, I said. God works with what he has, he said, and left me with a tool I didn't need, and a sentence I maybe did. Night gathered. In the dark, the kitchen's little dot blinked its red lie, and I said out loud, not for long. I made a list. Call an electrician about circuits that mysteriously died. Replace under cabinet camera with an actual light. Install a peephole that tells the truth. Ask Amy at the bank for a statement that highlights the no. I slept the sleep of a woman whose house learned a new word. It wasn't quiet. It was mine. The next week, paper did what paper does. A letter from the Secretary of State acknowledging receipt of my notary complaint and assigning a number with more digits than patience. A notice from the county prosecutor. We will contact you if we require a statement. An email from Amy at Chase Oak Park. As requested, noted on file. No transactions without respondent present and ID. Refi flagged. Alerts on. She attached a PDF that said hold in a friendly font that made the word stronger. I printed it and put it in the drawer with the pills. Ownership needs light, yes, but it also needs paper in the right drawer. The status conference turned into closure sooner than the calendar promised. Sharon did not come to court. Paula came smaller. Dr. Washington came with a letter-stamped medical opinion that had the muscles a letter needs. Nina sat in the back row like a shadow with a pulse. The judge arranged her pens. We're back on the record in Re Dorothy, last name, she said. We have reviewed audio complaint responses and submissions, counsel. My clinic lawyer stood. We asked the court to enter a protective order for 6 months, to recognize respondents' exclusive control of residence and medications, to enjoin petitioners from interference with finances, and to require restitution of respondents' costs incurred due to improper filings. Jasmine's lawyer rose and attempted to use the word misunderstanding as a parachute. It didn't deploy. Marcus stared at the table like it might give him a script. Carla didn't come. The street had shifted its chairs. The judge spoke like a person who picks nails with care. Here's what's going to happen, she said. 1. The court enters a 6-month protective order. No lockouts, no surveillance inside the home, no signage or listing activity without respondent's written consent. 2. Respondent retains exclusive custody of all medications. Any pill organizer remains in respondent's possession. Medical appointments may be attended by family only if respondent invites them. 3. Petitioner is enjoined from accessing respondent's financial accounts absent respondent present with ID. Banks may rely on this order. 4. The court orders restitution for respondent's document fees, legal clinic fees, and lock replacement totaling $1,367 per affidavit. Payment plan acceptable. First installment 30 days. 5. The matter of the notary is referred to the Secretary of State and remains outside this court's scope, but the record will reflect the irregularities observed. 6 parties will return in 6 months for review. If there are no violations and no new facts, this case will be closed. She looked up. Ms. Last name, you have a right to peace. Ms. Petitioner, Mr. Petitioner, you have a right to care about her so long as care doesn't look like control. If anyone needs a working definition, ask Nina. She seems to know. A ripple of quiet laughter moved like a cat through the benches and sat down. The gavel tapped. Proceedings ended not with triumph, but with a door gently closing the way doors should. On the courthouse steps, Jasmine stared at the cement like it had options. This ruins holidays, she said. You understand that you bought peace and broke December. You broke May, I said. She flinched. Not big but true. Then she did the brave thing and told a small truth. I was scared, she said, eyes on the cars, as if they might offer her a ride out of the sentence. Of death, of debt, of being 38 and watching my life get small. Life gets narrow when you make it a hallway, I said. Not when you live in a house with windows. She looked at me fresh for a breath. I'm not the monster you want me to be. I don't want you to be anything, I said. I want the lock to click from my side. She nodded once. 6 months, she said. We'll see. Bring a casserole, I said. It helps. She almost smiled, then didn't, and walked down the steps with a woman's weight on a girl's posture. Marcus approached with a cautious grace, like the pavement might register his crimes. I'm sorry, he said, voice perfectly pitched to sound like remorse to a microphone. For which part? I asked. He looked at my face and realized there wasn't a score to settle there he could win. For Tahoe, he said finally, very small. I let that hang. Then I said, try local lake. He nodded, confused, and followed Jasmine into whatever they call their car when they think no one is listening. We went home under a sky that forgave us nothing and punished us for nothing either. The house looked the way it always has. Siding that needs paint. Steps that need a second rail I will install next week. I turned the knob. The door opened. The click landed in the right place. On the kitchen counter, the under cabinet blinked its last blink. The electrician had come while we were in court. Deb's cousin, a roomer with a union card, and replaced it with a light that does nothing but be a light. I stood there a minute and let the clean glow be enough. Hank knocked once and stuck his head in. Deb wants the sign for a yard sale. Good wood, he said. Take it, I said. Put free on it, he grinned. Dog chews, he said. Or raccoons. We sat on the porch and watched Normal walk by. Kids in helmets too big. A jogger who had finally made peace with her pace. Carla with her sunflower removed. She paused at the end of my path like a pen above paper. Dorothy, she said, careful. We're making a committee to help people with grab bars and rails. You know, house rules that are actually safety. Would you advise? Gladly, I said, and meant it. She smiled, small and hopeful, and went on, the dog's tail writing a better sentence in the air. At sunset, I took the keys out of my pocket and laid them on the railing. They had warmed to my body and picked up my sweat and become what they'd always been, a small permission made of teeth. I held them up to the light. New brass, small nicks already from use. One little ding where I dropped them on the second day because hands tell the truth. I put one back in the bowl by the door for emergencies. I taped the tiny pinhole tool to the nightstand like I said I would and wrote ask first on a post-it near it. I put the $12 receipt back in the drawer with the pills, now accompanied by a photocopy of the protective order and Amy's hold. The drawer slid shut with the quiet a drawer has when it knows it's doing its job. Finally, I took a pen and wrote on an index card that has lived on my fridge since my late husband made me write down the plumber's number in 2004. Private. I am safe in my room. Social. I am known by my neighbors. Financial, legal. I own my name on paper. Public. I can stand in a room and not shake. I stuck it to the fridge with the magnet shaped like a tomato and stood there until the words stopped looking like a trick. The doorbell rang at some gentle hour that means kindness. Pastor James had a screwdriver in his pocket for the joke and a box of tea for the use. Rail next week? He asked. Rail next week, I said. He looked at the bowl by the door at the key sitting there like a friend that came back from a trip and nodded like a man who's seen a sacrament. You keeping a spare with Hank? He asked. I am, I said. Witnesses stop lies from finishing their sentences. Good line, he said. I watched him go, then closed the door, then opened it again just to feel the hinge do what it's supposed to. It did. The lock clicked. Right sound, right place. Night came. The house talked its small talk. Fridge hum. Water pipe sigh. The floorboard in the hall that complains because it can. I lay down and put the phone on the table where the moon can see it. I did not set it to record. The truth didn't need me tonight. Through the window across the hedge, the ring pulsed its little blue pulse, doing the only thing it knows how to do. Remember good. We all needed that. I slept. In the morning, the porch will be ordinary. Hank will wave. Deb will say the word casserole like a punchline. The committee will ask me which kind of rail bracket actually holds. Nina will do her drive-by and not stop unless I wave. Dr. Washington will call me stubborn and refill the script. Amy will send a text that says all quiet. Paula will find a new family who thinks quiet is the same as good. Lena will sell a different house to a different story. Sharon will talk to someone with law in their voice. And Jasmine, she will have to walk up my path the old way as a daughter. She will have to press the doorbell like a person who does not own a lock and say the word that means she remembers how to be let in. Mom, when she does, I'll open the door. Not because she deserves it, because I do. If this story resonated with you, leave a like and consider subscribing. You can also drop any comment below, even just one word. Maybe tell me where you're watching from or what time it is right now. Sometimes one word is enough to say you were here.